No matter where you come from, no matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you've come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come, love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. The God in you. Whether you're black or white, gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you. If there's some kind of trouble or pain you're going through, know that you are not alone and someone cares for you. As an individualization of divine point of view, this door is open to you. This door is open. This door right here, this door is open to you. Is open for you. This door is open to you. This door is open. I'm talking about this door. This door is open. I said this door is open to you.
Live stream, and we open the doors right here at Mother's Day. We always like to begin our time together with prayer, so I invite you to turn your awareness within this morning. And we do so in that spirit of a new day. We give thanks for this day, for a new day. We take this opportunity to give thanks for the recognition for the many things that we love in our life. We give thanks for the recognition of love. And we give thanks for the realization that we are love. And even though we don't yet fully comprehend all that that is, we know that it's what we are, and it's what we're called into being. It's what we're created as being. Today we open to this through the doorway of home. We give thanks for this opportunity to more deeply connect with the truth of who we are in spirit, an expression of God, all that is. And for this day to celebrate together, we are truly grateful. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. It is so good to have each and every one of you this morning. And if those of you that are in the building would take an opportunity to turn, and we'd like to welcome those that are joining us from wherever you are. So thank you for joining us. We've had someone, I'm not yet sure exactly where, in Europe that has been reaching out, who's joining. So we don't know when you see or when you join, but for those around the globe that are joining with us, welcome this morning. It's so good every week to have our Unity Band. We have Richard back from New York this week, and so we have Dave, Richard, Joel, Pete, and Joey. Yeah, come on, Kat. And our very own Kat Williams with us. So as Kat's coming, come on up, Kat. As Kat's coming up, I want to ask you, if you've not yet turned your cell phones off, to please turn those off or on airplane mode. That helps us greatly. And to acknowledge our young people, our youth ed teachers, Reverend Gabby and Reverend Barbara Ann, are here holding sacred space. You know, sometimes I'm amazed at the end of the service. I see one or two children go over, and then at the end of the service, there's 8. I'm like, where did they come from? How did that happen? And so to our children, our young people, to Simon and all of them, we always tell them we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. To our youth, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Have a wonderful Sunday school experience this morning. Thank you. Kat Williams, we're so happy to have you with us this morning. Kat's going to kick us off with a song by Denise Rozier that all of you will recommend. We used to sing this a lot as a congregational. It says, "Spirit is in this place." Oh, yes, thank you. You may be seated. Actually, do a little right back up. It's good for you. Come on, it's good for you. Take this opportunity to turn into namaste, that blessing to one another. Spirit is in this place because you are in this place. And we take this opportunity to welcome those that are joining us virtually today from wherever you are. Give a wave to those. You may be seated. Spirit is in this place. And because we know moms have strong legs, everyone can please be seated unless you are a mother. If you are a mother, would you please stand today? Please remain standing. Please remain standing, mothers. Please remain standing. Our first home on this earth is in the womb of the mother. And no matter the relationship of our mother, we all need to recognize our mothers only have to give what they have to give. And not everybody's relationship with mother is a loving one. We understand that. And yet today we celebrate what it really means to be a mother, to be that place of nurturance, that place of giving your life to bring forth new life. To me, there is nothing more holy on this earth than the holiness of a mother. So mothers, today we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. To each and every one of them, let us say this together. To our mothers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Now, while they're standing, if you had a mother, even if you didn't know her, please stand. Raise your hand if you've ever been a mother to anyone, to anything. We all know what it is to be that. So give yourself a hand, each and every one of you. Thank you this morning. Yeah. Thank you. You may be seated. Mother's Day is very special. I'm blessed to have my mom still with me on this earth. I can remember growing up in the Pentecostal church where I grew up. Every year on Mother's Day, people wore a flower that was either red or white. And as a little girl, I remember asking what was the difference. And you may know the ones that wore a red flower, it meant their mother was still living on earth. The ones that wore a white flower, it meant they were not. And I always remember that Mother's Day, I honestly kind of didn't want to go to church because it was bittersweet for me. And so today we recognize that today is a bittersweet day. But we wade out into the waters of that sweetness and that spaciousness that is big enough to hold all of it. And that's what it is to be in the heart of the great mother, to be in the heart of the womb of love. I've asked our very own Kat Williams to share an inspirational reading this morning about Mother's Day and then her next song.
The inspirational reading today is called When You Thought I Wasn't Looking. When you thought I wasn't looking, you hung my first painting on the refrigerator, and I wanted to paint another. When you thought I wasn't looking, you fed a stray cat, and I thought it was good to be kind to animals. When you thought I wasn't looking, you baked a birthday cake just for me, and I knew that little things were special things. When you thought I wasn't looking, you said a prayer, and I believed there was God and that I could always talk to. When you thought I wasn't looking, you kissed me goodnight, and I felt loved. When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw tears come from your eyes, and I learned that sometimes things hurt, but that it's all right to cry. When you thought I wasn't looking, you smiled, and it made me want to look that pretty too. When you thought I wasn't looking, you cared, and I wanted to be everything I could be. When you thought I wasn't looking, I looked and wanted to say thanks for all those things you did when you thought I wasn't looking. Now when I walk into this room and I look into your eyes, well, somehow I'm not surprised. It's like I've known you all my life. The sweetest place I've ever known, a place to rest and call my own. With all those years out on my own, well, I finally found I'm home. And when you hold and all our hearts are open wide. There's no reason to want to hide. Sweetest thing I've ever known, a place to rest and call my own. With all those years out on my own, well, I finally found I'm home. Now when I look out in this crowd, and all that I can see is all I ever dreamed. Looking back at me, the sweetest thing I've ever known, a place to rest and call my own. With all those years out on my own, well, I finally found, yes, I finally found, I finally found I'm home.
Oh, Cat Williams, that was beautiful. She's going to be back. Our band's going to head down. Richard's going to stay with us today because we're going to incorporate a little bit of music in our talk. But would you give our band your love and appreciation again? That was absolutely beautiful. That word, home. Home, sweet home. Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and her realization, there's no place like home. Remember from the movie E.T.? E.T. phone home. There's something about that word home. For me, I can't think of home without thinking of mom. You know, they kind of go hand in hand. And as I said earlier, I know that that's not everybody's case, and home doesn't necessarily have the warm and fuzzy feelings. But yet, if we really take it to its essence, I think perhaps it is captured best in this common saying that says, home is where the heart is. And that's what the hero's journey is about, leaving home and then returning after you've discovered something in yourself to know yourself in a new way at home. It's eventually leaving enough times to discover that home is where the heart is. That wherever we are, we say on Sunday as we end our services, wherever we are, God is. Because that is, God is in you. You are in God. And I like to say often, not like one little chocolate chip, if you could ever find that thing in that cookie. It's like not one little piece of you, but it's in your very essence. It's in your makeup. It's what you're made of. You can't extract yourself out of it. It's like we're the drop in the ocean that has yet to discover that our being is in the ocean. And so today we talk about home. I'm beginning a 4-week series that is titled The Invitation, and today the invitation is home. Maya Angelou said, "The ache for home lives in all of us, the safe place where we can go as we are." The home that I'm speaking about, again, is not necessarily a place, although I hope you have places you feel at home. Because you know what I'm meaning by that? What I mean by that is I hope you have a place where you feel comfortable in your own skin. I hope you have a place where you feel secure and loved unconditionally. And most importantly, I hope that beyond any place that may give you some of that, that you have discovered that you have that within your own being, that you have access to that experience no matter where you are, to be home. And so we could call home, perhaps the most succinct word or words would be unconditional love. Again, another phrase, a term that's hard to wrap our mind around, but unconditional love simply means that no matter the condition, love is there and love is bigger. No matter the condition, love is there and love is bigger. That home is a place of unconditional love. And so what home really does for us is home is where our source is revealed. Home is where our true essence is revealed. Home is where love is revealed. And so we're called home so that love can be revealed to you and through you and as you. That we're called home so that love can be revealed to you and through you and as you. Perhaps the greatest, if we look at the Bible, if we look at the stories that were ascribed to Jesus, perhaps the greatest, that's often called the greatest love story, has been titled in years, many years after the story was told, it's most commonly called the story of the prodigal son. It would more aptly be called a story of a man with 2 sons. Because the story is equally about 2 sons, and just a very quick synopsis of that story. I'm sure you're familiar, but in the gospel, the story, it begins, and the audience that Jesus is talking to, it follows some other stories where they just kept asking Jesus, why are you hanging out with sinners? And why are you acting like God is present to both Jew and Gentile? Why are you acting like you yourself are a child of God? Why are you acting like these things? So they're questioning him about all these things, and he's telling stories, and then this is when this one takes place. So you have to understand, he's trying to really make a point. And he says, well, the kingdom of God is like a man with 2 sons, and his audience would have said, oy vey. Because for them to have a man with 2 sons, the oldest son by custom was heir to everything. So to have had a man with 2 sons, the minute the audience heard there was a man with 2 sons, they went, oy vey, tension in that household. They knew that was tension, there was competition, that was a difficult place to be in. So he goes on and says, there's a man with 2 sons, and the younger son comes to the father and says, Papa, give me my inheritance. And they're like, no way. That was the equivalent of said, Dad, I wish you were already dead, but you're not, so give me what I'm going to get when you die. And this is the youngest son doing that. So Jesus is telling the story that to them is just ridiculous. This would never happen. And he says, well, the youngest son asks for his stuff, and the father gives it to him. And the son goes off in what we would call wine, women, and rock and roll. He just loses it all. He has a good time, blows all his money, and then finds himself destitute. And it says the story wasn't already bad enough. Jesus says, well, what can I have him do? Okay, so now the boy's destitute, so he goes to feed pigs. Remember, this is a fine Jewish boy. He's now feeding the swine, which he's not supposed to even be in contact with. And it isn't even bad enough. It says he got so hungry that he wanted to eat the very food that he was feeding the pigs. And then he had an epiphany. He came to himself. He had a self-realization. In 12-step, they would call that he hit his bottom, where the only place to look is up. He had a realization and said, wait a minute. In my father's house, his servants live better than this. I'm going to go back and ask, Papa, I'm sorry, but can I work as one of your servants? And so he's rehearsing that script all the way, making his way back home. And when he gets within just sight of home, he sees something unexpected. His father is actually standing out on the edge of his property. And the minute he sees his father, the father's very happy. And the father grabs him and puts a ring on his finger, a symbol of belonging. He puts a robe that says you matter. He puts sandals on his feet that says, I've never forgotten who you are. And the son is trying to give him the story that is well rehearsed. This is why I did this. I'm sorry. But the dad never even hears it. He just said, son, you were dead and now you were alive. Now that audience that is watching this, they're now completely lost because they can't imagine a scenario that would happen. But Jesus is trying to say, can you imagine being in relationship with a presence where the greatest authority is compassion? It's not your religious rules. It's not the right or wrong. It's not what shoulda, coulda, might. It's compassion is the highest rule of the day. And the story doesn't end there. He then has the older son, and this is when he's really speaking to the audience. Because his audience were the scribes, the teachers, the learned ones, the religious scholars who were doing everything right. And yet Jesus was inviting all these hooligans and sinners and all these people in and saying they have access to God too. So to them, he said, so now there's the older son. The older son has always done what was dutiful and right. He's out plowing in the field and he sees all this commotion and he asks one of the hired hands, what's going on? And they said, your brother come home and your dad's killing the calf that we've been wanting to get really plump. We're going to have a pig picking. Or whatever they had. I guess it wouldn't have been a pig, but we're going to have a something party, a big party. And the big brother who's been working all this time and he's been doing what's right, he is mad about this. So he goes over to the father and says, I heard that your son came home and you're killing our best whatever and we're going to have a big party here and you never even killed a goat for me and my friends. And Jesus looked at him and said, but son, you've been with me all the while. Everything that I have is yours. And then the story ends. Now, so often like that, the stories, and Jesus says, in the kingdom of God is like that. Now, he was trying to make a point to the audience that he was talking to say, you can't wrap your mind around why I say it doesn't matter who's done what. The presence of God is always available. The question is, are they awake to it? What I really wanted he wanted that audience to hear is, where are you so caught up in a role and doing what you think is right, that you're so filled with resentment, you also don't have access to the love that is right here. It is a great love story about coming home to what's already here, to the love that is here. Well, today I want to share with you three stories about three women in honor of Mother's Day that call us into this question that how am I in relationship with love? What home is really about, home is the place of unconditional love. Home is where the truth, the reality of who we are as an expression of all that is, it's where it dwells there. It's a vibration, a resonance, it's a knowing. Home is the place where love reveals itself to you and through you and as you. Home is the place where love reveals itself to you and through you and as you. And so the first story, home is the place where love reveals itself to you. A colleague of mine, her name is Reverend Claudia Renee. She's the minister at Unity of Naples in Florida. She grew up in Ohio, and she shares that one of the most pivotal things that really shaped her life and shaped her, she's very compassionate, great minister. But when Claudia was 15, 16 years old, had her driver's permit, one day she was home and her parents were getting ready to go out, and her dad threw her the car keys to his prized Chevelle and said, when Mom and I leave, I want you to move my car and put it in the garage. Car's here, garage is here. He tosses Claudia the keys and said, when Mom and I leave, just put my car in the garage. And she said, wow, I'd never been entrusted with such trust. And Mom and Dad left, and I went and got in that Chevelle. And she said, Dad's seat was way back, and I didn't even move it, and I cranked that car. And and was just listening to the engine, and I pressed the gas a little bit and it lurched forward. It's like, wow, this is powerful. And when it lurched forward, I meant to hit the brakes, but I hit the gas again, and it lurched forward and went right through the living room, right into the house. Totally knocked a hole. Car is now halfway in the living room. She's like, oh my God, she jumped out of the car, couldn't even get in the front door because of all the blocks, the bricks that had fallen down. She ran around back, and thank goodness her sister and the dog were okay. And she said her sister was standing there, and all she said is, Dad is gonna kill you. Dad is gonna kill you. She said her sister was like stuck on it. Dad is gonna kill you. And she said, and she was probably right. So she said, I ran to my room as fast as I could, and I grabbed a bag and I threw some things and I took off the back door, and I thought, this is it. Bye, family. I'm on the lam. I gotta run for my life. Dad is gonna kill me. And she took off running, and this was Ohio in the winter, and it was cold, and she went and was hanging out and getting really cold, really cold. And so then she found a gas station, and she went into the bathroom, and she said she kept pressing the heater, trying to stay warm under that heater. She did this for a couple of hours, and now it's starting to get dark, and she thought, Dad may kill me, but I'm surely going to die on the lam. How am I going to live? I'm already freezing. So she began to make her way the few blocks back home, and she said it was just getting dark, and when she was heading to her house, it was like all lit up, and all the neighbors were out, and flashlights were saying, Claudia, come home. Claudia, come home. She said, literally, I had my own prodigal daughter moment. And she walked in, and she said, my mother just grabbed me and hugged me and said, honey, are you okay? And then I stepped in the back door, and she said, there was my father. And she said, I was so nervous, and I looked at him, and what he did is, she said, he didn't say anything, he just did like this. And she said, I walked over, and he hugged me, and I tried to tell him what happened, and he said, honey, I don't need to know the story right now. I just need to know you're all right. She said everything within her just... And she said, I've come to understand that our soul is always saying, honey, I don't need to know your story right now. I just need for you to know that you're all right. You see, unconditional love, it's that place that's always calling you to say, I know you got a story. I know that. But I need for you to know you beyond the story. See, home says, gentle spirit, flow in me. Gentle spirit, grow in me. Gentle spirit, show in me. Gentle spirit, know in me. Home is the place where unconditional love reveals itself to you. And home is the place where unconditional love reveals itself through you. The second true story. This takes place, it begins in 1942. In 1942, in the Polish town of Bielaka, when the Nazis invaded that Polish town, Philip Zakowski and his family were among the Jewish residents who were sent to the Zitul ghetto in World War II. And on the morning of 1942, the Lazowski family caught wind that the Nazis were killing Jews in that very ghetto. And so they decided to go into hiding, but the only way that they could go into hiding is if one person stayed outside and closed up and secured it. And so that was Philip, the 11-year-old son, said, I'll do that. The family go inside, I'll secure the place, and then I'll go hide. And so he did that, but before he could, he got caught by a German soldier. And he was taken to the marketplace that day, where in Zitul at the marketplace, that's where the German soldiers were splitting people in two groups, those who would be spared and those who would be executed. And Philip says, an 11-year-old boy, I scanned very quickly trying to figure out what was happening, and I noticed that it seemed like the people that were being saved were people that were holding some papers. And so I found a woman that had two little girls, and she was holding papers, and I went to her and said, can I be with you? And in that split second, a woman looked down at him and said, take hold of my skirt If the Nazis will spare me with 2 daughters, surely they will spare me with 2 daughters and a son. Take hold of my skirt, you can be my son. And he grabbed hold of her son, and as the Nazis came by, as it turned out, she was a nurse and she had papers, and so she was spared, and she went over and was able to be saved. He said the encounter didn't last more than 30 minutes. And during that time, he looked at her and he asked her her name. And when he asked her name, she said her name was, got it in my, Miriam Rabinowitz. And he remembered her name. And he said in less than 30 minutes, the soldiers were gone. And he looked at her and he said, I need to be on my way. My family are in hiding. And so she let him go. Well, unfortunately, most of Philip's family did not survive, but he from there went and he actually lived in the woods for several years until 1947 he made it into America. He made it to the United States. Just a few years after 1947, he was attending a wedding and in New York, and he struck up a conversation with a stranger at a table, and he said, hi, my name is Philip, and I'm from Bielika. And one of the women said, Bielika? I know another woman from Bielika, and she tells a story about a little boy that many years ago she helped save his life, and she's always wondered about him. And he said, is her name Miriam? And she said, it is. So they made a plan to meet, and he met Miriam, and sure enough, it was her, and now he was grown, and the daughters were grown. And he kind of liked one of her older daughters. Well, Miriam had a daughter named Ruth, and Philip actually married Ruth in 1955. That's them today. He's a rabbi. And the woman that saved his life in that instant now has her grandchildren because of the strange boy that she allowed to be her son that day. That love is always seeking to reveal itself to you. And love reveals itself through you. How many of us can look around the world today and say, man, Roe versus Wade? Man, what's going on in Ukraine and Russia? Man, what's going on in our own country? It is so easy to try to reduce these things that would cause us to be here or there. But my friends, there is nothing that is that simple. It's far more complex, all of these things that we're trying to resolve. We have a genuine conundrum. We're living in a conundrum. And what it's calling us to do is how can I, in the midst of this, yes, stand for what I believe for, yes, work for change, yes, do these things, and do it from a place of love and recognition. There is no stranger. There are no other. What we do to them, what we want for them, we must do and want for ourselves. So gentle spirit, flow in me. Gentle spirit, grow in me. Gentle spirit, show in me. Gentle spirit, know in me. Home is the place where love reveals itself to you. Home is the place where love reveals itself through you, through your choices, through your attitude, through your actions. And finally, home is the place where love reveals itself as you. The third story. Richard, this story can use a little Richard Schulman make this story better song music. This story begins in 1980 with a woman named Evie. Evie had been a hard worker all her life. She was 29 years old, busy, successful career as a nurse. She had advanced to the intensive and coronary care director in a big hospital. But Evie had noticed for some time she had been dropping things and tripping and falling and just feeling a little weak and dropping things and tripping and falling. She had noticed and just trying to iron will herself through it for months, really probably a year, until it got to the point where she couldn't. She went to see a doctor, finally a neurologist, and by the time she had a neurologist that correctly identified it. She had a neurodegenerative disease that was quite advanced, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. By that time, she could barely walk, and he looked at her and said, "It's advanced, and you have less than a year, probably a year at best, 12 months at best." And she had a master's degree in nursing, and so she knew what she was dealing with. And Evie wrote this. She said, "I returned home after my diagnosis, prepared to die within a year. I saw no other option. Outwardly, I still was the picture of a well-adjusted, happy, successful young woman who was meeting this tragedy with gusto and courage. But inside was chaos. I was angry, upset, depressed, hateful, and awed all at the same time. I wanted nothing more than to run away from everyone, and I made it very uncomfortable for anyone to be around me. So in just a few months, I had successfully isolated myself from family and friends. I was so entrenched in my professional mindset that there was only one way I could be with this illness, professionally detached. I simply observed how much my bodily function began to fade away, what I was losing. I noted every day how much I was losing. And in her words, she said, I sat like a bowl of Jell-O in a wheelchair. Confined to a wheelchair, however, I had plenty of time to think, especially because she'd run everybody away. She said, I began to notice what I was thinking about. She said, I had to acknowledge that ever since she had had polio as a child, ever since having polio, I hated my body. My body had never been right. It came in two sizes as a result of the childhood polio. I despised my body and wished it would just disappear, and yet outwardly I pretended to love myself, but really I didn't know how. She said I also had to acknowledge that I pushed people away. I would never let them really get close, never allowing them in, and that I also had a lot of harsh resentments. She said it actually astounded me when I realized that I was still angry at my third grade teacher. My third grade teacher, because I was handicapped with polio as a kid, told me I didn't even need to bother to learn to write. And she said some 25 years later, that was still somewhere I was holding on to that, and there were many other resentments. She said I also really acknowledged that I didn't know how to give without wanting or expecting something in return. I was a big giver. I was a nurse, but I expected recognition. I expected the accolades. She said, I felt like life owed me something, and I'd never sat still long enough to know that that was inside of me. She said, I always strived to get honors, recognition, success, power, achievement, credit. My life had unexpectedly and unconsciously been about, what can I get? What can I acquire next? But now, I wanted to know what I had to give. What would it feel like to be in touch, really, with something I freely had to give? What would it feel like if it freely flowed through me? Who would I be then? She said, so as I sat like a bowl of Jell-O in a wheelchair and looked at myself, knowing I would soon die, I asked, what can I realistically hope for the rest of my life? She said, it was just as soon as I asked, it came up, unconditional love. I want to be the best version of me that I can be before I die. I want to know unconditional love. And so she said, so I set out to do some things. Number one, because I could still talk, I found a place where I could volunteer by being on the phone for just a couple of hours a day, that I would make some calls and work as a volunteer for the purpose of giving. From my wheelchair, I started giving to those around me, trying to give without taking credit. At the end of the day, I had a report card for myself. How loving had I been? Did I really give? Did I have expectation of something in return? I really held myself accountable and did my best to learn what that would feel like. Number two, she calls the naked truth. She said, I sat in front of a mirror, naked, in the wheelchair, and looked at myself. I'd had polio, so my legs were withered. In addition, she'd been overweight her whole life, and now she was wasting away. And so the first thing she did was made a list of everything that was wrong with herself, everything that she disliked. She said it came fast and furiously. That was easy, to write all the things that were wrong, all that she disliked. Then she started another list, a list that she liked about herself. She said, I began with my hair and my hands. I've always been proud of them. But this new list of good qualities didn't come as quickly as the other list. And so she created a practice where she would sit in front of the mirror like that 20 minutes a day, 3 times a day. And during these times, she said, I had negative feelings and thoughts that were almost overwhelming at times, but I would not leave until I had come up with at least one new thing about my body or myself or my life that I really honestly loved and appreciated. The other thing she had to do during that time was to notice and accept all the negative feelings that were coming up. She said, for the first time in my life, I noticed them and I took responsibility for them. She said, I didn't know what to do with them, and so I said this. She said, when I noticed something that developed, I would say, God, these are my feelings and my thoughts. I accept them as mine, but I don't know what to do with them, so take them. I give them to you. I offer them up. She did that every day, and she worked on forgiving people. She said, over time, the list of positive qualities grew stronger, and eventually it became as long as the old list. Still, she kept practicing, and so her new list began to grow longer. Then one day, I literally crossed a threshold. I wheeled myself into the mirror room, and for the first time, all the negative thoughts and feelings had disappeared. There simply wasn't anything there anymore. I could feel myself as love. That day, when I wheeled myself in, I honestly felt nothing but love and compassion. And not only for my body, but I saw myself as a miracle of creation. I knew all beings were a miracle of creation. And I knew that I was a soul, a spirit, and I could see it finally. I was able to see and experience myself and to recognize that I had done good in the world and I was there for a purpose. She said that same day I noticed something else. For over the past couple of years, it had felt like a bathtub slowly draining. Slowly, little by little, her energy had been draining. And she said that day, the drain stopped. At some point, she began to have more strength in her limbs. She continued to practice. Instead of losing bodily function, she gained it. Eventually, she started walking again. She could feed herself, clothe herself, and do everything normally. Evelyn McDonald, would you show me her picture? Became the first person recorded to completely recover from ALS. When that happened, she realized she must have more work to do in the world. When she went back 2 years later to see her neurologist, he didn't believe it. He said, it can't be. She said, well, it is. Here I am. They have subsequently worked together and traveled and taught. Evie today, Evelyn, is the Reverend Doctor. She went on to become a Methodist minister. And this is what she wrote. She said, the essence of my approach was never to be cured because I honestly didn't think it was possible. The essence of my approach was to change the way I viewed myself and the world before I died. The essence of my approach was to be love and experience it before I died. And so my process was not a program for a cure or remission. It was a program for me to let go of my pretenses and past hurts and resentments and to accept my loss of function and upcoming death and to embrace whatever amount of life I had. The changes I went through were real, and they worked not because someone else wanted or expected me to change, but because I saw the need and had the desire to change my attitudes and beliefs. I had to let go of being right, and I had to choose a whole nother set of operating life principles. He said these were more than attitudinal changes. They represent a fundamental restructuring of my entire framework for perceiving, interpreting, and interacting with the world around me. More than insights, they were key reversals to my process of thinking and feeling, based on a deep examination of the foundation of my being. She says, what I found was, I found my way home. I found unconditional love. There's a quote in the Course in Miracles that says, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against love. Home is the place where love is revealed to us. Home is the place where love is revealed and expressed through us. And home is the place where love becomes known as us. So gentle Spirit, flow in me. Gentle Spirit, grow in me. Gentle Spirit, show in me. Gentle Spirit, know in me. I invite you to close your eyes for a few moments. We turn our awareness within. It is through the gift of our awareness that we allow ourselves to be present. It's how we allow ourselves to be presenced. It's how we allow and know ourself beyond the container, beyond the vessel, beyond the body. We become to know ourselves as an instrument of light, as part of the field of infinite reality, of unconditional love that we call God. Love is, yes, an idea, yes, an emotion, yes, an affinity. As you know the word love. But at the heart of what you call love is the truth of your being. There is one life which pours itself into every form of creation. And when every form of creation recognizes its origin in the one, it also honors its commonality in the other. When every form of life recognizes its source in spirit, it also recognizes that same spirit in all creation. Everything becomes holy now. The bird, the brother, the friend, the so-called stranger, the one that I adore, and the one that I completely disagree with. I gain access of a way to be in relationship with the spirit, with the soul of whatever is before me, without having to destroy the form that may look different than me. Love is calling us home, to regroup, to reassimilate, to recalibrate, to remember, to rejoice, to circle all the way back to the story of the prodigal son. It ends with great rejoicing. And the question that is left lingering in the air to the audience is, will you join the celebration? Unconditional love rejoices, and the question that it leaves is, will you join the celebration? So gentle Spirit, you flow in me. Gentle Spirit, you grow in me. Gentle Spirit, you show me in me. And gentle Spirit, you help me know within me. Gentle Spirit grows in me. Gentle Spirit grows in me. gentle spirit shows in me, and gentle spirit knows in me. So today we open to the reality of that. And just as Evie did when we come in to realize and recognize feelings, thoughts, things that, first of all, it's important to own it, to say, yeah, this is going on inside of me. I don't know how to resolve this. I don't know. And yet I offer it up. I offer it up to the higher self, to the Holy Spirit. I offer it up to the God of my being, because there is a wisdom and intelligence that operates in me and through me that does know. Just as the great earth can recycle all that we give it, this Holy Spirit can recycle my brokenness, my misperceptions, and return unto me an awareness with new eyes, new heart, new love. And so I offer it up. And in the offering of it up is me staying present and available. I choose, as Evie did, I choose to find the good. I choose to find the gift. I choose to focus and accentuate what I do have to work with. I choose to focus and accentuate what I do have to be grateful for. I choose to focus and accentuate and give what I can authentically give, so that it can allow me to connect with the goodness that flows through the giving and the gift. This I can do. This I was born to do. That is to come home to love. So gentle spirit flows in me, and gentle spirit grows in me, and gentle spirit shows in me, gentle spirit know in me. So when you're ready, would you wiggle your fingers and your toes and stand? We're going to turn and send this out to our live streamers to feel that love flowing through you. And we here and we live streamers, we're going to send some love out to our Supreme Court justices right now. We're going to send some love out. Yeah, some love. We're going to send some love out to the leaders around the globe right now. We're going to send some love out to any place where it appears to be dark. Send some love out to somebody that, boy, that's easy for you. Send some love out to somebody, they just draw it forth. Now, like Evie did, send some love to yourself. Bring that love back home. So gentle spirit flows in me, and gentle spirit it grows in me, and gentle spirit shows in me, and gentle spirit knows in me and in you. And so it is. Namaste. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Love calls us home. May you allow yourself to feel that love coming to you, to feel that love flowing through you, and to know that love as you. Thank you for engaging that, for your beautiful hearts and your willingness to be here. You could be anywhere else. You could be watching anything else, and you're here, and we want to thank you for that. I want to invite up Sharon Oxendine, one of our board members, and Michael Wackerly, one of our prayer chaplains. They're coming forward, and as they come forward, Michael is holding this box, which is a symbol to remind us of prayer. This box always stays on the back table. There are little cards. You can always fill out your prayer request and place it within. You can type your prayer requests, send them to us online, put it in the chat's comment. However you get the prayer requests to us, not only do we hold them in prayer, but we send them on to Silent Unity, where they're held 30 days consecutively in prayer. We truly believe prayer changes things. And our board member, one of our board members, Sharon Oxendine, is holding a blue box, which symbolizes our gifts. That each and every one of us, we give however we're so inspired to support what we do here at this ministry. So we make these blue boxes available. You can give online, however you choose to give in relationship to what's appropriate for you. We realize that when we do what's ours to do, we create wonderful things in the world. So I want to thank them for doing this. And I'm going to invite Kat to come up. Thank you, Sharon and Michael. We wanted to remind you of that. Kat's going to sing us one more song, and then we're going to invite our children in to close with us. Kat's going to sing a beautiful song here that says, "Don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down."
You might slip, you might slide, stumble and fall by the roadside, but don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember, we're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Yeah. I said, walk with the rich, walk with the poor. Learn from everybody, that's what life is for. But don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember, we're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Here we go, bring it up. Play on, Richard. Woo! Walking up to heaven, don't let nobody turn you around, y'all. Stand up and sing it with me. Walk with the rich, walk with the poor. Learn from everybody, that's what life is for. But don't ever let nobody, y'all, turn your spirit around, yeah. Remember, I'm walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around, y'all. I said I'm walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. I said I'm walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn your spirit down. Oh, yeah. I said I'm walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody, don't let nobody, Yeah. Turn you around. Don't let nobody turn you around.
Yeah, you're walking home. Don't let nobody turn you around. To our visitors today, we have some of these blue cards out in the foyer. If you fill one out and you'd like to stay in touch with you, we can do that. So, our children coming in, Rev Christie? We're going to see if they're ready. We're going to close together with this prayer of protection by James Dillett Freeman that made its way to the moon and back. And it says, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. May you be home this week in that place of unconditional love. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Kat, will you sing us out of here? Don't ever let nobody bring your spirit down.
Yeah, you might slip, you might slide, you might stumble and fall by the roadside, but don't ever let nobody bring your spirit down. Remember, you're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Yeah, walk with the rich, walk with the poor. Learn from everyone that what life is for, but don't ever let nobody